There's a 20-second window every single morning that could be the most dangerous moment of your entire day. You've already gone through it today, you'll go through it again tomorrow, and if you're over 60 and taking any medication for blood pressure or your heart, there's a real chance your body is quietly struggling in ways you've never been told about. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why. And more importantly, you'll know exactly what to do about it. Here's what I've seen in over 15 years of working with adults over 60. The risks that send people to the emergency room are rarely the dramatic ones they were warned about. They're the quiet ones, the invisible ones, the ones that happen in an ordinary bedroom on an ordinary Tuesday morning before anyone's even made coffee. What I'm going to walk you through today is one of the most underappreciated cardiovascular risks in older adults. It's backed by solid research. It affects approximately 1 in 5 people over 65, and it almost never comes up in a routine medical appointment because there's simply not enough time to cover everything. I'm Dr. Gregory Holt. I've spent the last 15 years focused specifically on cardiovascular health and aging. I've sat with patients who fainted getting out of bed, patients who fractured bones in hallways at 6 in the morning, and patients who were doing everything their doctors told them to do and still ended up on the floor. Not because their doctor missed something critical, but because no one had ever asked them the right questions about how they start their morning. That changes today. Before we go any further, I want to be clear about something important. Everything I share in this video is educational. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice. I am not your doctor, and this video does not replace a conversation with your physician or cardiologist. If you're experiencing dizziness, lightheadedness, chest discomfort, or any cardiovascular symptoms, please see a licensed medical professional. Your heart deserves that level of personalized care. What I'm offering here is the foundation for a better, more informed conversation with your own medical team. With that said, let's get into it. Let me ask you something. Have you ever stood up from bed in the morning and felt that brief wave of lightheadedness? Maybe a split second where things went a little blurry, where you grabbed the wall, where you stood still for a moment before moving, and then it passed and you told yourself it was nothing? Most people over 60 have experienced this. Most of them have filed it away under just getting older and kept moving. But here's what's actually happening inside your body in that moment. When you go from lying down to standing up, gravity immediately pulls roughly 300 to 800 milliliters of blood downward into your legs. That's up to 3 cups of blood shifting away from your brain and your core in a matter of seconds. Your body is supposed to respond to that instantly. Your sympathetic nervous system fires, blood vessels constrict, your heart rate nudges upward, pressure is maintained, you don't feel a thing. That system works beautifully at 30, at 40, even at 50, but at 65, at 70, at 75, the reflex is still there, but it's slower. Where it once took 1 to 2 seconds to fully compensate, it may now take 3, 4, or even 5 seconds. And those extra seconds are the gap where dizziness lives, where falls happen, where, in someone with an already compromised cardiovascular baseline, more serious events begin. This is called orthostatic hypotension. Orthostatic means related to standing upright. Hypotension means low blood pressure. Together, they describe a documented, measurable phenomenon that affects approximately 1 in 5 adults over the age of 65, according to research published in the journal Hypertension. 1 in 5. This is not rare, it is remarkably common, and it is almost universally underreported because most people don't think a few seconds of dizziness is worth mentioning to their doctor. It is. Stay with me, because I'm going to show you exactly why and what to do about it. I want to tell you about a patient I'll call Frank. Frank was 73, retired electrician, the kind of man who prided himself on never complaining. He had been on a blood pressure medication for 6 years, well managed, consistent. His readings were good, his doctor was happy, and Frank was happy. But every morning around 6 a.m., when he got out of bed, something felt off. Not dramatically, just slightly. A heaviness behind his eyes, a moment where he moved a little slower than he meant to. He chalked it up to not being a morning person. When Frank came in for a routine visit, I asked him a question. I make a point of asking every patient over 65, "What time do you take your blood pressure medication? And what time do you get up in the morning?" He took his medication at 10 p.m. He got up at 6 a.m. There it was. Here's what most patients don't know. Every medication has what pharmacologists call a trough period. That's the window when the drug's concentration in your bloodstream is at its lowest, when it's providing the least protection, and in the case of blood pressure medications, when it may actually contribute to lower than ideal pressure at exactly the wrong time. For most people who take their medications in the evening, that trough period lands squarely in the early morning hours. The window when your medication is least effective happens to be the exact window when your cardiovascular system is most biologically vulnerable. A 2022 review published in the European Heart Journal on Chronopharmacology, the science of how medication timing interacts with your body's natural rhythms, found meaningful evidence that timing can significantly affect both the effectiveness and the risk profile of blood pressure medications, particularly in older adults. Frank's fix was simple: a conversation with his pharmacist, an adjustment to his medication schedule, and a commitment to one new morning habit we'll get to shortly. Within a month, those early morning symptoms were gone. Here's your action step right now. At your next pharmacy visit or prescription refill, ask this specific question. Given the medications I'm taking, is there a timing that might be safer for my morning cardiovascular risk? Your pharmacist has your complete medication list, understands trough periods, and is one of the most underutilized resources available to you. That question is free. The information it unlocks could be genuinely important. This one surprises people every single time I bring it up. By the time you open your eyes in the morning, you are already dehydrated. Not severely, not in the way you'd feel after a long run in the heat, but meaningfully, quietly, in a way that has a direct effect on how your cardiovascular system handles the transition from sleep to standing. Here's why this matters more as you age. The mechanism in your brain that tells you to drink water, the thirst signal generated by the hypothalamus, becomes measurably less sensitive as you get older. Younger adults feel thirsty before their hydration dips to concerning levels. Many adults over 65 simply don't get that signal reliably. On top of that, many people in this age group deliberately restrict fluids in the evening to avoid nighttime bathroom trips. Completely understandable. But it means you're going to bed already trending toward lower hydration, and then your body uses more fluid overnight through respiration, temperature regulation, and basic cellular function. By 6 a.m., your blood volume is lower. Your blood is slightly thicker and more viscous. Your cardiovascular system has less fluid to work with at exactly the moment it needs to maintain pressure against gravity. Think of it like trying to pump water through a hose when the reservoir is only 2/3 full. The system can still work, but it has less margin for error. And for someone who's also dealing with a slower autonomic response and a medication trough, that reduced margin matters. The fix is one of the simplest things in this entire protocol. Keep a glass of water on your nightstand every night. Drink it before your feet touch the floor, 8 ounces minimum. This single habit directly increases circulating blood volume and gives your heart and vessels what they need before you ask them to fight gravity. Drop a comment below right now. Do you currently drink water before you stand up in the morning? I want to know where you're starting from. Even if you set aside orthostatic hypotension, even if your medications are timed perfectly and you're well hydrated, the early morning hours carry a cardiovascular risk that exists completely independently, and most people have never been told about it. Research published in the journal Circulation has clearly documented what cardiologists call the morning cardiovascular surge. The window between roughly 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. consistently shows the highest rates of heart attack, sudden cardiac death, and stroke across all adult populations. The reasons are biological and deeply embedded in your sleep-wake cycle. As your body shifts from sleep to wakefulness, several things happen simultaneously. Blood pressure rises. Platelet aggregation increases, meaning your blood becomes more prone to clotting, and catecholamines, the stress hormones including adrenaline, flood your system to shift you from rest to activity. Your body is doing significant physiological work in those first hours of the morning, and that work creates real, measurable vulnerability. Now layer everything we've already discussed on top of that: a slower autonomic response, mild dehydration, a medication trough, and the act of standing up too quickly. These aren't 5 separate problems. They are 5 compounding factors that operate simultaneously in the same narrow window of time. That's what makes the morning uniquely dangerous for adults over 60 on cardiovascular medications. I had a patient named Beverly, 68 years old, former middle school principal, sharp as anyone I've ever met. She was not on blood pressure medication, but had a mild underlying arrhythmia that was managed well. She fainted in her kitchen on a Thursday morning at 6:20 a.m., attributed it to not eating, went back to bed for an hour. When her daughter finally brought her to see me 3 weeks later, a careful history revealed that Beverly had been experiencing brief, self-resolving lightheadedness on most mornings for over 4 months. The morning wasn't random. It was the window, and Beverly's body had been trying to tell her that for months with the only language it had. The protocol I'm about to give you addresses this window directly. Every single step is designed for it. You've stayed with me this far. This is what I want you to actually use. This protocol takes less than 3 minutes. It costs nothing, and every step has a physiological rationale that connects directly to what we've discussed. Step 1. Before you sit up, move your feet. While you're still flat on your back, spend 20 to 30 seconds doing ankle circles and pumping your feet up and down, flexing and extending. Your calf muscles are a secondary pump for your lower body. When they contract, they squeeze blood back toward your core. Activating them before you stand directly reduces the gravitational blood shift that triggers orthostatic hypotension. 30 seconds, still under the covers. Start there. Step 2, drink your water. Reach for the glass you've placed on your nightstand the night before. Drink at least 8 ounces before anything else. This is not optional if you're over 65 and on cardiovascular medications. It is physiologically necessary. Think of it as priming your system before you ask it to perform. Step 3. Sit on the edge of the bed for a full 60 seconds, not 5 seconds, not 10, 60. Sitting is an intermediate cardiovascular position. Your body adjusts to partial gravitational load, your autonomic system begins to engage, your blood pressure begins to recalibrate. Use those 60 seconds. Look out the window. Take a few slow breaths. Let your body do what it needs to do before you go fully vertical. Step 4. Stand next to something solid. When you do stand, be within reach of your nightstand, a bedpost, or a wall, not because you expect to fall, because you are giving yourself a safety margin during those first seconds of autonomic adjustment. This is not weakness. This is intelligent, evidence-informed cardiovascular management. Step 5. Ask for the orthostatic blood pressure test. At your next appointment, write down these exact words and hand them to your doctor. Can you check my blood pressure both lying down and standing up? This is called an orthostatic blood pressure test. It takes 2 minutes, involves no equipment beyond what's already in the office, and directly tells your doctor whether you have clinically significant orthostatic hypotension. Many patients have never had it done. You now know to ask for it by name. Let me bring it all together quickly. The morning is uniquely dangerous for adults over 60 on heart or blood pressure medications. 5 factors compound at the same time: a slower autonomic response, a medication trough, overnight dehydration, the natural morning cardiovascular surge, and the physical act of standing up too fast. The 3-minute morning protocol addresses each one: ankle movements before you sit up, water before you stand, 60 seconds on the edge of the bed, something solid within reach when you rise, and a specific question to your doctor about orthostatic blood pressure testing. These are not complicated changes, they are precisely calibrated ones. And if you take your blood pressure medications in the evening, have a specific conversation with your pharmacist about timing. That single conversation could change how protected you are during the most vulnerable window of your day. I want to leave you with 2 people. The first is a man I'll call Ronald, 76. He had the protocol. His neighbor Douglas, same age, same medications, did not. Ronald had learned it from his cardiologist. Douglas had simply never been told. One morning last January, Douglas fell in his hallway. He was fine ultimately, a bruised hip, a scare, and a very frightened wife. When Ronald visited him in the hospital, he sat down and walked Douglas through every step of the protocol from memory. Douglas told me later, "I'd been having dizzy spells for 2 years. I thought everyone my age felt like that in the morning. Not everyone does. And even those who do, don't have to." Whether you have this information should not depend on whether your specific physician happened to have time to cover it in a 15-minute appointment. That's why this channel exists. Before you close this video, I want you to do one thing. Leave a comment below with one of these 3 responses. Morning protocol, if you're going to start implementing these steps tomorrow. Doctor question, if you're going to ask for the orthostatic blood pressure test at your next appointment. Or sharing this, if there's someone in your life, a spouse, a parent, a friend, who needs to see this today. I read these. This community is built on real people making real changes. And if you know someone over 65 who takes heart or blood pressure medication and starts their mornings the way most people do, up fast, move fast, no water, no pause, please share this with them today. Because the morning they need this information might be tomorrow morning. If this gave you something useful, subscribe. Every video on this channel is built on the same foundation: real research, real clinical experience, and information worth bringing to your medical team. You watched to the end. That tells me you take your health seriously. Take this seriously too. Thank you for being here. Take care of yourself this morning.